In this sequence of videos, we're going to look at a puzzle from moral philosophy called the trolley problem. In particular, we're going to look at the way Judith Jarvis Thomson thinks about this problem. So this is on the trolley problem. Now, before we get into it, it's important to distinguish between moral permission and obligation. I've invoked this distinction when presenting Kant's theory, Kant's moral philosophy, and when presenting Mill's moral philosophy, but I haven't made it explicit. So let's now make it explicit. And it's a pretty simple distinction. To say something is morally permissible is to say it's not wrong if you do it. So for example, perhaps getting myself a drink of almond milk right now would be morally permissible. To say something is morally obligatory is to say you're doing something wrong if you fail to do it. Now, certainly getting myself a drink of almond milk right now is not morally obligatory. That is, if I don't go do that, I'm not failing to live up to a moral obligation that I have. So this is the distinction between permission and obligation. An act is morally permissible if morality doesn't prohibit it, if it doesn't say, no, you can't do that. An act is morally obligatory if morality says you have to do that, you're obliged to do it. If you don't do it, you'll be failing to live up to your moral obligations. Okay, so with that distinction in place, here's a rough sketch of what we'll do. First, I'll introduce the trolley problem. Then I'll introduce a distinction. Then I should say this is just an outline of Thomson's paper, Judith Thomson's paper. Then I'll introduce a solution she considers from a philosopher named Philippa Foot. She rejects that distinction, and she rejects that distinction by saying, like, look, maybe that distinction seems like it works for the initial trolley problem, but really there's a new trolley problem which has the same basic structure, but it's clear that Foot's solution doesn't work for the new version. She then considers a Kantian solution. She says, here's how Kant's moral philosophy might say we can solve the problem. And she says that won't work. And then she begins to work towards her own solution. So she starts with what she calls the simple rights solution. And this is an appeal to rights in order to solve the problem. And then she raises a problem for that. And she keeps on developing until she gets to a final, more complex version of her solution. And she says, if you adopt this sort of moral principle for this case, then you can solve the trolley problem. And that's basically the structure of her paper. After we do that, we'll look a little bit at some work from a neuroscientist and philosopher named Joshua Green, who has something to say about the trolley problem. So what is the trolley problem? The trolley problem is how to explain an apparent intuitive difference between two cases which are structurally similar. So here's the first case. You have somebody going down tracks on a trolley and realizes the brake is broken. So there's no way to stop the trolley. The trolley is going to continue on. It has a lot of momentum. There's no way to stop it. The brake is broken. You can't get it off the tracks. There's nothing to do. But there is a choice to be made. So up ahead, the person driving the trolley sees that there are 5 workers on the track and thinks to herself, if I don't do anything, I'll surely kill these 5 workers. But there's a split in the tracks. And although the brake is broken, the trolley driver has the ability to sort of pull a lever that will cause the trolley to switch from one track to another. And the trolley driver sees that on that other track, there's only one person. So the decision here is, should the trolley driver pull the track or not? And the trolley driver, pull the switch or not? And the trolley driver thinks, if I pull the switch, I'll change tracks, and then I'll kill that guy over there. But if I don't pull the switch, I won't change tracks, so then I'll kill these 5. What should I do? Okay, so that's the first case. You should think to yourself, what should the trolley driver do? And you can ask 2 questions here. You can ask, question 1, is pulling the switch, thereby changing tracks, thereby killing the 1 instead of the 5, morally obligatory? That is, if the trolley driver fails to pull the switch, will the trolley driver be doing something that's morally wrong? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is pulling the switch morally permissible? That is, if the trolley driver pulls the switch, thereby changes the train from the track it's on to this track, thereby killing the 1 and saving the 5, is the trolley driver doing something wrong? So question number 1, is failing to pull the switch doing something wrong? That is pulling the switch morally obligatory? Question number 2, is pulling the switch morally wrong? That is switching the tracks morally permissible? And the question we're interested in is the second one. Is it morally permissible for the trolley driver to change tracks? If the trolley driver does nothing, the train careens on ahead and kills these 5. If the trolley driver pulls the switch, the train switches the tracks and kills this 1, but not the 5. Now, the reason I have this up in the air is people always try and get out of moral puzzles, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to try and find a solution. So one way you might try and get out of it is say, well, the trolley driver should just yell ahead and the people should jump off the tracks. So I have the tracks suspended here, high up in the air. Surely they're all going to die if they don't, if they jump off the tracks. And you might say, well, what if they hang from the side or something? And we'll just say the trolley will crush their fingers. There's just no way that these 5 can survive, or any of them can survive, if the train keeps going this way. And there's no way this one can survive if it switches tracks. So the question of interest to us is it morally permissible for the trolley driver to switch to this track, thereby killing the 1 and not the 5? Put another way, would the trolley driver be doing something that's morally wrong, or does morality prohibit switching the tracks? All right, now case number 2. This is the transplant case, which we've seen before as a case against utilitarianism. So here you have someone in need of a liver, someone in need of a kidney, someone in need of a lung, another person in need of a kidney, and someone in need of a heart. And here you have your super surgeon, and the super surgeon thinks, if I don't operate, these patients will surely die, but if I do operate, these patients will surely live. That's how good I am. And the super surgeon thinks, but I have no organs to give them. Then time for my next appointment. Over here you have a healthy patient, just seeing the surgeon for a consultation on something minor. And the surgeon thinks, if I switch the organs into these other people's bodies, they will surely live. If I don't, they will surely die. What should I do? And now there's 2 different interpretations of the question, what should I do? One interpretation is this: is switching the organs, that is harvesting this person's organs, thereby killing this person and saving these 5, morally obligatory? That is, would the surgeon be doing something wrong if she failed to make the switch? And the second question is making the switch morally permissible. That is, would the surgeon be doing something wrong if she does make the switch? And again, we're interested in that second question, is making the switch morally permissible? Is it morally permissible to harvest this person's organs, thereby killing this person, in order to save these 5? Okay, so here's the trolley problem. The trolley problem is not what to say about the trolley driver case, nor is the trolley problem what to say about the transplant case. The trolley problem is that it seems like we want to say different things about the 2 cases. So most people say the driver should switch tracks, that it's morally obligatory. But even those who don't, and this is the crucial thing, typically say switching is morally permissible. So if the driver pulls the switch, thereby sending the train down this track, the driver has not violated some rule of morality. The driver has not done something wrong. That is, switching the tracks is morally permissible. But when it comes to the transplant case, most people say the doctor shouldn't make the switch, and more specifically, they say making the switch is morally impermissible. That is, if the doctor makes the switch, the doctor has violated a rule of morality. So there's the trolley problem. Why is it morally permissible for our train driver here to switch tracks, thereby killing 1 to save 5, but it's not morally permissible for our super surgeon to switch organs, thereby killing 1 to save 5? In each case, it looks like there's a choice between killing 1 and killing 5, and yet in the trolley driver case, it looks like it's permissible to do that, and in the super surgeon case, it looks like it's impermissible. Why is that? Why does it look different in the 2 cases, even though structurally they seem to be the same? That's the puzzle. Okay? All right, so here's the problem in Thompson's words. Why is it that the trolley driver may turn his trolley though the surgeon may not remove the young man's lungs, kidneys, and heart? In both cases, 1 will die if the agent acts, but 5 will live who otherwise would die, a net saving of 4 lives. What difference in the other facts of these cases explains the moral difference between them? And now you can see why it is we don't want you to just try and get out of the problem by saying, well, what if one of them can fly? Or what if one of them's Hitler? Or whatever. Because what we want you to do is focus on the difference between these 2 cases and see, what makes for the difference. Okay, so put another way, why is it morally permissible for the driver to throw the switch, thereby saving 5 and killing 1, but morally impermissible for the super surgeon to make the switch in organs, thereby saving 5 and killing 1? So there's 2 formulations of the trolley problem, And next time, we'll look at Foot's solution, which is a philosopher named Philippa Foot proposed a solution to this problem, and Thomson reviews the solution, but only in order to reject it. It's a clever solution, but Thomson's going to say it doesn't really work. And she's going to show that it doesn't work by invoking a new version of the trolley problem. So we'll do that next time.